In this episode of The Breakdown, I'll show you how using a grid can affect your portraits in the studio. Welcome back to The Breakdown. I'm Miguel Quiles, and I'm in the studio today, and I want to show you my portrait lighting setup using just a single light with a grid. Now, a lot of times people will ask me, am I using a light with a grid? What is the purpose of the grid? And rather than talk about it, I'm going to show you what is actually happening to the image when you use a grid. All right, so let me break down this setup here for you. I'm using a single light here, which as often seen in my breakdown videos, I'm using the Indra 500 from Phottix, and I have it paired up with a Phottix beauty dish. Now, I really love using the beauty dish whenever I'm photographing somebody that has really great skin, which as you've seen in my other videos, I'm photographing Noel, and she has great skin. So in scenarios like that where you're photographing somebody with excellent skin, using a beauty dish really helps to bring out the texture and the detail in their skin. So using a beauty dish will help to achieve that. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna put a grid on that beauty dish because it's going to narrow the light and it's gonna give a different quality of light in this particular image. So I'm gonna take a shot first without the grid, and then I'm gonna put the grid on there, take another shot with it. Now, this particular grid comes included with the beauty dish. I tried to look in the manuals to see what the degree of the grid is, and unfortunately I couldn't find it, but if I had to guess, I would say it's probably a 30 or a 40 degree grid. So if you're using a beauty dish and you're trying to figure out what the particular degree of grid is, it's somewhere in that 30 to 40 degree ballpark. So anyway, beauty dish, one light, we'll take a shot with and without the grid. We'll see what that looks like. And before that, let me go ahead and break down the rest of the setup so you know everything else as far as camera, lens, and background. All right, so for the camera, I'm using the Sony a7 II, which is a full frame mirrorless camera. I have it paired with one of my favorite lenses, which is the Sony 70-200 2.8 G Master lens. It is a insanely sharp lens, beautiful quality of optics in this lens. I'm using the Odin 2 trigger, which pairs up with the Phottix Indra 500, and they're able to communicate. The Indra actually has the Odin communicator built in, so you actually don't have to have anything connected to it in order to make it flash, which is pretty useful. I'll come into the frame here. I'm using a reflector, and it's actually a silver reflector, and I have that on a table. So this table is made by Photogenic. I love this because it can be used for the model to actually pose on the table as well. We may or may not use it for this particular tutorial in this shoot, but it is a really handy item to have. Oftentimes what it ends up doing is just holding my reflector. So silver reflector for bounce, which is going to give a little bit of bounce into the shadows. It's going to reflect some light into the shadows and soften them just a touch, because the beauty dish does create a little bit of dark shadows, a little bit of contrastiness in the photo. So we're going to try to alleviate some of that with the reflector. As far as the background, this is a grunge collapsible background from Savage. Really nice, really high class looking texture to it, which is one of the reasons why I love using it. And yeah, that's it. And of course, Noel, who's awesome. And so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take a couple of shots here. And just to break down the setup, or to break down the settings, I'm shooting at f2.8, 1/5000th of a second, ISO 160. And you're probably wondering, so I'm shooting with a strobe. Again, I'm using high-speed sync for this particular shot. And the reason why I'm doing that is I want to be able to shoot at an f2.8. So in order to shoot at 2.8, I have to have a shutter speed that basically kills off the ambient light in the room. So what I'll always end up doing is I'll take a photograph at these settings with just the ambient light so that I can see that there is nothing affecting the actual exposure. And then I'll go ahead and turn on my strobe and I'll take shots from there. So let's go ahead and take a quick test here. I'm gonna turn off my strobe and hopefully we should get a completely dark image here. Perfect. So at these settings, you can see that the ambient light that's in the room is not actually affecting the exposure. So at this point, we can turn on our Odin 2 transmitter. And now we're ready to take some photos. All right, so to get this thing started, I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot, and I wanna show you what it looks like without the grid to begin with. And I'm actually gonna build up this shot. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take the reflector out, and I'm just gonna have this beauty dish bare. We'll take this off. And I'm gonna take this reflector off. And so we're gonna go ahead and take some images here, and I'm just gonna add different layers to this shot. So we're gonna add the reflector, and then we're gonna add the grid, and that way you guys can see the progression. So Noel, what I need you to do is don't move. Okay. This isn't gonna be like the most flattering portrait, right? It's just a basic test shot. So we'll try one here, and my light is set at half power right now. And so let's take our first shot. This is just with the beauty dish. So you're gonna see that it's pretty bright on her face, actually. We'll go ahead and we'll add the reflector. Take the same shot once again. Okay, there we go. And then we'll go ahead and we'll add this grid. Now it does cut down the exposure. Does cut down the exposure just a touch, which you'll see here in this shot, keeping the same settings. There we go. So if you look at these shots, you'll notice that just the beauty dish alone, it does kind of make it look really bright on her face. The shadows under her nose and under her chin is really dark. We add the reflector, and it kind of softens some of those shadows there. It adds a really nice little catch light to her eye as well. But overall, the image looks like it is overexposed, and it actually is overexposed on her face and parts of her jewelry, which is okay. And then once you add the grid, now you actually have a shot that is nicely exposed, and it's nicely sharp and in focus. So we're gonna go ahead, now that you guys have the setup and you see how this looks, we'll go ahead and we'll keep shooting some shots. All right, so we took a couple of shots, and I was evaluating the photos, and I really feel like it would do a lot better if we actually had some movement in her hair. She has fantastic hair. So I want to be able to add a little bit of wind into the hair to give a little bit of a nice movement to it. Shooting at f2.8, it's part of the reason why I do this is because I want to get a really nice fall off where the eyes are nice and in focus, but the hair kind of starts to blur away. And part of the magic of being able to do that is to get the hair kind of moving around in the frame. So I have a fan that's here off camera. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this thing on. I'm gonna put it at low power. And actually, before I do that, it's very important that you know that anytime you're using a fan to shoot portraits in the studio, you wanna make sure that the fan is not blowing directly into their eyes. I have had times where I've used fans in the studio with different people, and their eyes start to water because the fan is blowing a lot of wind into their eyes. So you wanna make sure that you give people a break. They get cold very easy as well because they're gonna have the fan blowing on them for extended periods of time. So make sure that you keep that in mind anytime that you use a fan. So I'm gonna put it at low power. There we go. Now that we have our fan going, let's go ahead and take some shots here. Perfect, hold that. Very nice. Perfect, hold that. Excellent. Very nice. Excellent. Very good, hold that. There we go. Hold that. Great. There we go. Chin down just a touch. There you go. Hold that. Perfect. All right, so there you have it, folks, using one light with a beauty dish and a grid to shoot portraits in the studio. Hope you guys found that interesting and useful. If you did, make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section below. Make sure that you thumbs up the video as well. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you check out Adorama TV, and while you're there, subscribe, because they have lots of videos coming out every single day, every single week, showing all different types of photography and all different types of things for your viewing pleasure. Also, make sure you check out the Adorama Learning Center, where there are many articles and tips and tricks to help you with your photography. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode of The Breakdown. Bye, everybody.